The Boy from Helensburgh. In a quiet Scottish seaside town called Helensburgh, on August 13th, 1888, a frail boy named John Logie Baird was born. His father was a clergyman, and his mother encouraged his endless curiosity. From childhood, Baird was different. Instead of playing outdoors, he took apart clocks, telephones, and electric bulbs. His fragile health often kept him home, but that only fueled his imagination. Neighbors recalled seeing the young boy experimenting with makeshift wires and light bulbs, dreaming of sending images through the air. While others saw impossibilities, Baird saw opportunity. Even in darkness, he could see light. The seeds of television were quietly taking root in the mind of a boy who would one day change how the world saw itself. Sparks of curiosity. As Baird grew older, his fascination with electricity deepened. He often risked small shocks and burns trying to understand how light and current could work together. By the time he reached school, his teachers noticed his restless mind, always jumping from one experiment to another. He rigged up electric bells, made homemade telephones, and even tried to electrify his family's house, much to his father's dismay. Though his health remained fragile, his determination was unshakable. Young Baird wasn't just learning science, he was living it. Every experiment brought him closer to the idea that sound and sight could travel through invisible waves. It was the dawn of a dream that would soon illuminate every living room on Earth. The student dreamer. At the University of Glasgow, Baird studied electrical engineering, but World War I interrupted his education. Illness and wartime shortages forced him to abandon his studies before graduation. Yet, Baird's thirst for knowledge didn't end there. During his student days, he built a small power plant to light up his boarding house. Much to his landlord's astonishment, he absorbed everything about wireless communication and electricity. When radio pioneers like Marconi made headlines, Baird began to imagine, if sound could be transmitted, why not moving images? Even without a degree, his vision extended beyond textbooks. His mind was already constructing the future of entertainment, one flickering image at a time. The struggling inventor. After university, Baird tried several business ventures. He made socks treated to resist rain, jam that wouldn't spoil, and even worked briefly in a biscuit factory. But failure followed him everywhere. Poor health plagued him, and money was scarce. Still, he kept experimenting, building small mechanical devices in his attic room. He once told a friend, "I can't stop. I'm gonna see if images can move through air." Despite ridicule and poverty, Baird's imagination refused to die. Each failure was a stepping stone. Behind every failed invention was a man chasing a single dream, to bring sight to sound. The birth of an idea. By the early 1920s, Baird began focusing seriously on television, then a word few even knew. He believed he could use light-sensitive cells to capture moving images and send them over radio waves. With scraps of cardboard, darning needles, bicycle lenses, and old motors, he started to build his first television prototype. Working from his London attic, he endured electric shocks, cuts, and even explosions. His landlady feared he'd burn down the building. Yet one evening in 1924, he saw a faint, flickering image move on a screen. It was crude, but alive. For Baird, that dim image was the birth of a revolution. The first moving image. In 1925, in a small workshop at 22 Frith Street, London, John Logie Baird made history. Using his mechanical scanning system, he transmitted a recognizable moving image, the face of a ventriloquist dummy named Stooky Bill. The dummy's head, painted with bright colors to help the crude camera capture light, became television's first on-screen star. A few weeks later, Baird demonstrated live human transmission to astonished onlookers. The flickering face on the screen may have been rough, but marked a turning point. For the first time in history, sight had joined sound, and Baird had done it with salvage parts and endless determination. Making the world watch. Word spread quickly. Newspapers hailed Baird as the man who had made television real. In 1926, he gave the world's first public demonstration before members of the Royal Institution in London. Scientists and journalists crowded into the small room. gasping as a moving human face appeared on screen. Later, in 1928, Baird made another leap, transmitting color images and even creating the first transatlantic television signal between London and New York. His inventions brought him brief fame and recognition. Crowds gathered outside his workshop, desperate to see this new miracle of science. Baird's dream had stepped out of the shadows and into history. Rivalries and resistance. Despite his genius, Baird faced skepticism from major companies and scientists. His mechanical television system was ingenious but limited. Newer electronic systems, being developed elsewhere, soon outperformed his. The BBC, at first, used Baird's system for its earliest broadcasts, but later switched to electronic technology. Baird's fragile health and lack of resources made it hard to compete. Still, he never gave up. "I do not regret," he once said, "for I have seen what I dreamt." He wasn't chasing fame. He was chasing possibility. Though rivals gained control of the industry, Baird's pioneering work had laid the foundation for them all. The color of dreams. Even as others moved on to electronic systems, Baird continued to innovate. In 1939, he demonstrated the first color television using a mechanical process, years before it became mainstream. He even experimented with 3D images and large projection screens, technology far ahead of his time. During the dark days of World War II, he envisioned a future where families would sit together, watching news, drama, and art through the glowing window of television. He saw television not just as technology, but as a bridge between people, a shared experience for humanity. The quiet decline. As the 1940s arrived, Baird's health worsened. He suffered from frequent illnesses, heart problems, and exhaustion from years of relentless work. His company went bankrupt, and newer technologies overshadowed his inventions. Yet, he never lost his gentle humor or visionary spark. From his small house in Bexhill-on-Sea, he continued tinkering, sketching ideas for color and high-definition systems. The world had moved on, but Baird remained the dreamer who had once turned shadow into sight. The final broadcast. In the final years of his life, John Logie Baird lived quietly, often reflecting on how far his dream had come. Television had spread across continents, broadcasting news, music, and laughter. Though his name was less spoken, his vision lived in every glowing screen. In June 1946, weakened by a stroke, Baird passed away in his sleep at age 57. The man who had seen the future closed his eyes, but his invention kept the world awake. Legacy of light. After his death, the true weight of Baird's contributions became clear. Every television screen, black and white or color, analog or digital, carried his fingerprints. Statues, honors, and museums would later celebrate him. But perhaps his greatest monument was invisible, the signal that carries images through the air. His invention shaped politics, culture, and human connection itself. John Logie Baird had turned imagination into illumination. The boy who dreamed of sending pictures through air had changed the way humanity would see forever. The vision lives on. Today, in an age of smart TVs and global broadcasting, Baird's dream has grown beyond imagination. From live sports to global news, from cinema to video calls, every image owes a debt to the Scottish inventor's persistence. His journey reminds us that great visions often begin in humble rooms, with flickering lights and endless hope. John Logie Baird didn't just invent television. He invented a new way for humanity to share its stories. His light still flickers, not in laboratories, but in every home across the world.